For years, the rhino traders in the Senate have been stabbing America in the back, selling us out to the deep state while pretending to be on our side. John Cornyn and his swamp buddies thought that they could block Trump's America First agenda forever, but they just got the ultimatum they deserve. Watch. Trump torch Cornyn with a brutal endorsement threat. Ken Paxton checkmate the backstabber live on air. Cornyn completely falling apart as he realizes he's been played like a fiddle. Plus, Ilhan Omar gets the worst news of her life. Democrats left in total disbelief after that 218-213 House bomb and a shocking defeat in a deep blue district that proves the blue wall is crumbling. Trump's approval is soaring while the GOP flips seat after seat and the establishment is panicking in real time. This isn't just politics. This is the beginning of the end for the rhinos and the radical left. If you're sick of weak Republicans, rhinos, and communist Democrats destroying our country, as always, smash that like button right now. Subscribe to my show and my channel and drain the swamp in the comments if you're ready for the final takedown. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe the clips I have to share with you. So please make sure that you click the link in the description, because after you see this, you'll never look at these sleeper cells that have been activated the same again. It changes everything. My wife and I just refreshed and updated our feed with breaking insights, commentary, and our conversation. And we want you to get involved. Virtual meetups in the works, and together we will build better America. You're all invited, and we hope to see you over there.
Mr. President, later today, we will finish up the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, the latest piece of legislation in Republicans' affordability agenda. And next week, I will be bringing the Save America Act to the floor, and we'll be having a full and robust debate. So, Mr. President, what is the Save America Act? It is a package of common sense policies, the kind of common sense policies that should get an automatic yes vote from literally every member of this body. At the core of the Save America Act is the requirement that individuals provide proof of citizenship to register to vote, and then show an ID when they go to the polls.
All right, so John Thune just announced he's bringing the Save America Act to the Senate floor next week for a full debate and vote. Sounds big, right? But let's be real. We have to ask if this is the real thing or just more Washington theater designed to let it crash and burn. At its core, this is the common sense election security we've been demanding. Proof of citizenship to register and a photo ID at the polls. Trump loaded it up with extra wins too, banning trans surgeries on kids and tightening mail-in ballot rules. Problem is, that extra stuff might have already cost us votes. Even John Fetterman said he was on board for the citizenship part, but not the mail-in voting changes. So would the lesson here be keep it clean and focus next time?
Do you have time for a quick question on the Save America Act?
No, I mean, I've been very front and center on it. I'm not sure what the agenda is. Now, if they have a serious conversation, that's just provide basic ID to vote, you know, like somebody that could support that.
Okay, and what is it about the current legislation that you have a problem with? Because you did support it before.
Because it has no chance of passing. Okay. So, like, put up something that has a chance to maybe even pass, unless you just want empty kind of show votes. If they want that, that's their prerogative. I'll be a reasonable Democrat to say showing ID to vote. That's 83% of Americans agree with that. 71% of Democrats do. Make sure that you want to know who people are voting. Regular ID, you know, that's something I might could get behind, not all the other things. So if you want to show vote, you'll get it, and then it has no chance of passing.
Do you think that if we implemented the talking filibuster that it would have a better chance of passing?
No, I've been very clear about that. If they want to be serious about it, do it. Otherwise, you'll get your show vote that has no chance of passing. You want to make it you want to make it more secure, and do it the right way that have a chance of passing. Otherwise, it's just bad performance art.
Thank you, Senator.
All right, so basically, quit fucking around and get serious about it. We don't need to waste our time with fake news and performance art. We've got enough of that coming out of CNN and ABC. And please do me a favor, because I really get a kick out of reading your comments, and give me your best acronyms for CNN and ABC. Wrong answers only, and I'll be sure to highlight the best ones tomorrow.
So apparently, kind of in order, ABC issues a report that the FBI has warned California police that Iran has aspirational plans to launch a drone attack on California. Then David Muir on his ABC Nightly show, it's the most watched news broadcast in America, he parrots the report seemingly aimed at causing panic in America. Okay? I mean, look at how he's doing it right there, of course. But then Caroline Leavitt, we actually have a post from her saying that the post claiming that ABC intentionally omitted the fact that this was all based off of one single unverified report. Leave that up. It says this post and story should be immediately retracted by ABC News for providing false information to intentionally alarm the American people. To be clear, at the very bottom, no such threat from Iran to our homeland exists, and it never did. And then screenshots come out and kind of tell the whole story. So there's a side-by-side right here of this, and you can basically see on the right-hand side, this is the notification that was sent out, right? So we recently acquired unverified information. What they reported, I guess this is ABC News on the other side, is we recently acquired information that so they completely removed the word unverified. So out of an abundance of caution, somebody sends a tip or they get some kind of word like, hey, somebody wants to do a drone attack. We just need to send it out to make sure people are aware. Unverified. We're not really sure that exists, but we're going to do it. Somebody sends it to ABC. ABC removes the inconvenient part and then runs on a loop. America is under attack because of Donald Trump, essentially. Or
so do we know that
ABC flag?
Do we know that ABC was the one to remove it?
That was in the ABC article where it was removed, but I don't know if there was like an intermediary step from there. But either way,
it was removed by the time it made to the article.
Exactly.
So it could have been a third party, but what ABC ran was an altered version of unverified.
Says on the left is the way ABC or their source reported the
Correct.
FBI.
Yeah, so it's fair to say that maybe somebody else took it out. It's not really, though, because ABC's not going to just run something based on somebody saying what happened.
Yeah.
We know how this works. Like, you have to get multiple sources, especially at big corporations like that. They have to get multiple confirmations. You'd probably actually have to see the notice. And then somewhere along the chain, you're imagining in that scenario that they just removed it, whether it was somebody high up or not. I doubt somebody's just like, hey, this letter came out and just had nothing behind it.
Yeah.
Anecdotally, and obviously if it bleeds, it leads. This happens at every big network. But I worked for the same parent company, the Walt Disney Company, for almost a decade. And the spot that stuck in my mind the most was we were having a big meeting and my VP of creative said something to the extent of, there was some player that was causing a ruckus. We didn't want to feature him because of that. And he said, well, if that's what the fans think, that's our job to tell the fans what they think. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
So this is just part and parcel of what they do.
Well, it's, I mean, now do Cassidy Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Now do January 6 people who were imprisoned. Now do Russia collusion hoax. Now do the Hunter Biden laptop. I mean, there's so many examples of where they get it wrong. Yeah, but at a certain point, it's not you getting it wrong. Someone had to go to the lengths to alter that. Now,
they don't just get it wrong. If they just got it wrong, then the statistics would show that they get it wrong
equally,
somewhere between 40, 60 to 50% of the time, left or right.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
It's 95% leaning left every time they're wrong.
Yep. In this case, defeatism. It's like, see, look what you've stirred up. Look, now it's the American people at risk. And then ask yourself, who are those on the right who are consistently parroting the right wrong stories, the right factually incorrect stories? We've got to do better than this. Look, everyone has a bias. We do. And when we get things wrong, we let you know. We've had a couple of them, but there's a difference between getting it wrong and deliberately altering something to serve a narrative.
And that's exactly what Michelle and I talked about this morning. That and so much more. So if you want to get involved and be a part of the conversation, you know what to do. Thank you, ABC News, for issuing a correction to this story. The problem? Their original misleading story received 10 million views and panicked people across the country. The correction only has 100,000 views. Fake news is real and it's dangerous. The Trump White House is working 24/7 to keep up with it all and fight back.
You probably never saw the CNN.
But it ain't just that. As you see here, take a look at your screen. Here's Big Mike slanging that meat around while serving ribeyes to troops as part of a surf and turf meal that has been a military tradition since World War II. But mainstream press has suddenly decided it is a gotcha for some reason. And I'd like to point out how so many of you commented on yesterday's show how you served, and you too also had lobster and steak. So thank you for that. And thank you for your service. We've got to set the record straight and speak louder and clearer than the CNNs and ABCs of the world, unfortunately. They like to prey on the younger generation who's impressionable and easily swayed or tricked. And the older folks, like the seniors watching and who all subscribe to my show, because they know this is where I only deliver the truth. And the truth is regular Americans can actually get ahead and save real money. Speaking of which, if you or a loved one are on Medicare, you need to hear this. Chapter-free Medicare advice is helping seniors cut through the confusion and actually save big. On average, people working with them are boosting their savings by about $1,100 a year by finding better plans, lower premiums, and smarter coverage. It's completely free, no bias, no obligation, the kind of practical, no BS help the mainstream media never bothers to highlight. They'll tell you straight up, there's no sense in changing, just keep what you got. Just keep what you got. But they will search for better options through thousands of plans and bring those back to you for you to decide and choose. It's very simple, very easy. If you're 65 or older or helping a parent or loved one, do yourself and or them a favor right now. Call 270-467-2426. Click the link in the description or go straight to askchapter.org/Kevin. It takes just a few minutes and could put over $1,000 back in your pocket every single year. Real results, real savings, no spin. Again, their number is 270-467-2426. Give them a call and tell them Kevin sent you, your trusted source for real news, journalism, and the truth. Now, there is a sign over there that says, stay away from the water. And as you can see here, or maybe you can see here, if I can figure out where my camera is. That's exactly why they say, stay away from the water. Edge of the water. And there's another reason why they say stay away. That'd make for one hell of a added feature to my video, right?
In other words, it would require Americans to demonstrate that they're eligible to vote and that they are who they say they are when they go to do so. Not to keep using the word common sense, but it's pretty common sense, right? We require photo ID for a whole lot of things in this country for obvious reasons. Getting on a plane, show your official government-issued photo ID.
Here's the real trap that has everyone calling this a setup. The bill only needs 51 votes to pass, and we've got that majority, but Senate rules let Democrats just say the word filibuster. No standing, no talking, no nothing. And suddenly we need 60 votes to shut it down and actually vote. That's why it's probably doomed unless we force their hand. These arcane rules are why Congress looks so useless today. Something 80 to 90% popular with the American people can't get through. That's exactly why Trump wants the filibuster gone, because we all know the Democrats will nuke it the second they're back in charge. And real quick, in case some of you who just heard me say Trump wants the filibuster gone and you're thinking, what the hell does that even mean? Nuke the filibuster. Let me make it really simple. In 30 seconds or less, I'll tell you what, time me. All right. And so right now we have 51 votes, enough to pass the bill, but Democrats can just whisper one word: filibuster. They don't have to talk for hours, nothing. Suddenly the rule changes and we need 60 votes instead of 51. Boom. Popular bill dies. That's why Congress feels broken right now. Trump wants to kill that rule so the side that wins the election can actually pass what the people voted for with just 51 votes. Who'd have thought, right? But here's the trap that will bite us hard later. The second Democrats get 51 votes again, and they will inevitably, power flips every few years, they'll do the exact same thing. No brakes, no protection. They'll pass whatever they want with just 51 votes. Ban your guns overnight, shut down oil drilling and spike your gas to $8 to $10 a gallon, jack up taxes on working families, add new states to give themselves permanent extra senators, pack the Supreme Court so they can control it forever. It's like taking the seatbelts out of your car because they slow you down today, and then when the other side's driving and crashes the country, you're the one flying through the windshield with nothing to save you. That's why this matters to your wallet, your guns, your kids' future. Keep the guardrails or get ready for the ride. A wild ride. What do you think? Is it worth it? Nuking the filibuster or not? And how did I do on time?
Tell us what you're expecting next week on the Save America Act.
At a minimum, we need to get on this bill, offer amendments, and make sure that the American people realize the reason that we can't pass election security, that we can't have basic controls like voter ID, proof of citizenship to make sure that your legitimate vote isn't canceled by a fraudulent one, is because of Democrats. Now, could we pass this if we could eliminate the filibuster? Yes. And what I've suggested is we should vote on a rule change. That requires 67 votes. The split in our conference is those of us who believe the Democrats, next time they're in power, they will end the filibuster, versus those of us, those in our conference who are hoping against all hope that they won't do that. Listen, we would all like to keep the filibuster, but the reality is Democrats can end it. So let's vote. Let's see what Democrats would do with Trump in power. Do they want to end the filibuster with Trump in power, with Republicans in control, where we can actually secure elections, or not? We'd have to take that vote. It's a 67-vote threshold. Put the Democrats on record. It's really about the only way I could see preventing them from nuking the filibuster once they gain the majority in the Senate.
All right, so you all heard that, right? And now I want you to listen to this and hear how Chuck Schumer just openly admitted millions of ineligible voters would be purged from the rolls if the Save America Act passes.
Until the SAVE Act passes. That means the president's asking for total gridlock. The SAVE Act will not pass because it is such a pernicious, nasty piece of legislation. The SAVE Act is Jim Crow 2.0. More than 20 million people would lose their right to vote. And you would need to register either a passport or your original birth certificate. How many people have that? How many people have that? It would eliminate vote by mail. Tell that to a senior citizen who's confined to their home in a wheelchair that they're going to lose their right to vote. And he would purge the voter rolls using an AI system set up by Musk and Doge. So you could show up at the polling place this November and they'd say you're no longer on the rolls. They don't even notify you of it. Millions of people would be purged from the rolls because of this system that Musk and Doge put in. You wouldn't be notified. You'd show up at the polling place and they'd say, sorry, Mr. Jones, sorry, Miss Smith, you're not on the rolls anymore. They don't even notify you. This is one of the nastiest pieces of legislation that I've ever seen. It is going back to the old South, where people were prohibited from voting, and spreading it to every corner of America. It is Jim Crow 2.0. And when Trump says that he will not sign any legislation until Congress passes Doge, Mr. President, we ain't passing Doge. You are calling for gridlock in the entire Congress, and none of the bills that will help reduce the costs to people for prescription drugs, for electricity.
Quick show of hands. How many of you have a passport in or your original birth certificate? And just by chance, how many of you want your votes to be wasted and not counted because Chuck Schumer and the Democrats want to allow illegals to stay on the voter roll so they can keep getting their votes? Yeah. Imagine what November 2024 would have looked like had no illegals been able to vote. Voter ID was required in every state and at every poll, and they didn't play games with ballots, candidate names, placement, or even keeping ineligible options like RFK Jr. on the ballot to just further cause confusion and to take away from Trump's votes. Yeah. Just sit on that and let it marinate for a bit. And a ton of you in the comments, as well as big voices out there, are spot on. But to answer your question here at Force PBC, who asked last night, Kevin, I know you like DeVory, Brandon, and LV, but do you watch Matt Morse, Nate Friedman, or 2CTV? Just curious. Well, yes. Yes, I do. And so many others out there, but I think we're all pretty much agreeing that this looks like a deliberate setup to fail so Thune can say we tried and just move on. They're demanding a real talking filibuster, make the Democrats actually stand there for days defending why non-citizens should vote, or to step down if you won't fight. And I agree. Bring it up. Let the filibuster kill it on record, then immediately pivot to the talking version and make them own it in front of the cameras. This fight matters more than ever for 2026. If Republicans lose those midterms because illegals are flooding the rolls and voting without ID, they'll try to pin it on Trump, even though he won't be on the ballot. Democrats are already screaming Jim Crow 2.0 and playing their usual racist card about black voters, which as a black voter is total nonsense. And my word, I really hate identity politics and trying to make everything about race.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a non.
But let me tell you a quick personal story. Do you mind? Because a while back, I was up in Niceville, Florida, and I found out that they run their local elections completely nonpartisan. No D nor R next to anybody's name on the ballot. You just vote for the person who actually brings the most merit to the job. Qualifications, ideas, track record, no team jerseys, no tribal screaming matches, and no Tiffany Henyard flip-flopping games to try and trick voters. She was the former Democratic mayor of Dalton, Illinois, called herself the super mayor. But her town went from a $5.6 million surplus straight into millions in debt, with scandals over misusing taxpayer money for personal stuff like hair and makeup crews, lavish trips, and even FBI subpoenas on corruption probes. Her own Democratic voters booted her out in a landslide re-election loss. Now, she's moved to Georgia. She's moved to Georgia switched parties overnight to Republican and is running as the lone GOP candidate for Fulton County Commission like she's brand new and ready for a comeback. Same person, different letter next to the name. That's the kind of partisan rebranding trick that only happens when everything is about team jerseys instead of actual record and character. It really hit me, though, how much of the hate Democrats throw at Republican candidates and is just manufactured noise, not based on what the actual person stands for. But watch, Tiffany Henyard's going to crash and burn worse than Jasmine Crockett just did. Crockett, that ghetto, not so fabulous Texas congresswoman with the hood rat exotic dancer-like profanity-laced slang vocabulary, foul-mouthed rants, always cussing up a storm. She and her Ebonics code switching, glued on lashes and obvious lace fronts. The one who just got straight up smoked in the Democratic Senate primary by James Tallarico, a white progressive state rep running a calmer, faith-based, albeit he says he loves trans kids. It's kind of weird.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children who showed up yesterday at the state capitol to advocate for their humanity. They shouldn't have to, but it was an inspiration to watch.
But common sense campaign when compared to ghetto ratchet queen over there pouring out some liquor for her homies outside of Popeye's Chicken before she goes in for her shift. But a Democrat beat a Democrat. No Republicans involved. And what did she do? Ran straight to the racism claims anyway, blaming voter suppression and the system for her own party rejecting her. But what really happened? She, much like others to follow, fell victim to her own party's cruel intentions, and even when she loses her race and sinks her entire political career, she runs to the racism claims and blames Republicans for a Democrat beating her. Let that sink in. Tiffany will do the exact same thing, even when she sinks her whole political career as a brand new Republican. She'll cry racism and blame Republicans for a Democrat beating her. Let that sink in. But now, full transparency, and what I say could very well cost me likes and subscribers. But if you know me, well, yeah, we've come a long way, haven't we? And so I think we're up to like 322,000 subscribers now. So yeah, there's that. But it is the truth. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not a Republican. And I'm not a Democrat. I'm more like Billy Bob Thornton. Yeah, when he was on with Joe Rogan on the JRE, he called himself a radical moderate who just wants a common sense party. That's me.
Politically, I call myself a radical moderate. I'm like very strong in my opinions, but my opinions don't belong to any political party. And, I just look at what makes sense. And I think we need a common sense party in this country. That's actually what I think we need. Yeah. It's just figure it out. It's pretty easy to figure out what this is all about, A
non-ideologically captured party.
Yes.
Yeah, that just is like, okay, what do we need to do here? Mm-hmm. Instead of it's us versus them,
I vote based on what actually makes sense in the real world. Democrats rarely bring much of that common sense to the table anymore, but I'll also be the first to say not every Republican can be trusted either. Or better yet, a phrase I have been repeating more often than I'd like to lately, but believe it or not all Republicans are Trump. Think about that. Think about that and what I just said, and if you get it, let me know. But I call balls and strikes the same way, no matter who's wearing the uniform. Just keeping it real with you. And we're talking basic security here, ladies and gentlemen. Common sense logic and constitutional values that every normal American supports. But the pressure is on Thune and every Senate Republican right now. They're playing by the old rules at the exact moment when the republic is on the line. Call them, flood their inboxes, make noise, people. Demand they fight or get the hell out of the way. We cannot let illegal aliens decide our elections in 2026 and in 2028 or 2032 or ever.
It kind of feels like the only Americans not to support voter ID requirements are Democrats here in Congress. That's right. We're expecting continued full-throated opposition to voter ID and the Save America Act from Senate Democrats, as well as more of the unforgivable rhetoric that Democrats have already been engaging in. The Democrat leader has been calling this bill Jim Crow 2.0, a phrase that is not only deeply irresponsible and insulting to those who actually lived through that dark chapter in our history, but also insults the overwhelming majority of Americans, including minorities, who look at voter ID and see nothing more than common sense. In fact, Mr. President, I can really see only two reasons for Democrats opposing this legislation. Either Democrats are just reflexively opposing this proposal because it originated from Republicans, or Democrats believe that there are, in fact, people out there voting illegally and that it's benefiting Democrats. And they want to keep it going. I honestly cannot think of another reason to oppose something so eminently reasonable as requiring people to demonstrate that they're eligible to vote and that they are who they say they are when they go to the polls. Now, Mr. President, I'll have a lot more to say about the Save America Act next week, including about two other common sense measures in the bill that would prevent biological males from competing in women's sports and protect minors from gender transition procedures. Two other things I should note that are supported by the American people. Mr. President, I can't guarantee an outcome on this legislation, but I can guarantee that we are going to put Democrats on the record, that they will be forced to defend their outrageous positions on these issues and explain to the American people why common sense and the Democratic Party have parted ways. Mr. President, Republicans are looking forward to this debate, and I look forward to saying much more about the Save America Act in the very near future.
That in the Save America Act as one of our five. That's voter ID. We want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. We want no transgender mutilization of your children. We don't want transgender mutilation. That's number 3. We want no men in women's sports. That's number 4. And we don't want to have mail-in voting where the votes go. Where the hell do they come from? So we do that. It's 5 things. They're all 99%. They say, oh, that's an 80% issue, like voter ID. No, I think it's a 99. I think the Democrats have it at 87%. The leadership doesn't want it. Why don't you want voter ID? There's only one reason. Ready? Because you want to cheat. Okay? They blame it on all sorts of things. They came up, they said it's racist. They came up with things that you have to say their imagination is great. No, we're not going to let them cheat like they did in a certain election that we won't talk about. But that election was, and they cheat now. Look, we're not going to let it happen. So we're going to go get the Save America Act, not the Save Act. Nobody knew what the Save Act meant. The Save Act, what save what? Save America Act. And we're going to do everything we can. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe we're having a hard time. I think anybody that votes against it shouldn't be allowed to run for office. You want to know the truth. But we're working.